Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to kind of relay something to you that I was talking to someone who is more of a revolutionary anti-Bitcoin, not anti-Bitcoin, but anti-government type person the other day, and I was explaining to the person that how I came to digital assets, and I was explaining why I believe why I ended up at XRP and at Ripple. And the interesting reason for that is that, what really lit my flame was the financial crisis. When the financial crisis came about, my father was in the home building business, and so I saw everything that happened firsthand. What came out of that for me was not some love for the governments and the bankers of the world. What came out of that for me was more of an aha moment. It was like, aha, so basically when everything hits the fan, under the declaration of an emergency, our governments and the powers that be have just told us that they can and will do whatever they want. And that can include bailouts, bail-ins, you name it. So from that, see the difference between me and a lot of these Bitcoin people and the ones that are anarchists and revolutionaries and all that, the difference is philosophically, I'm right there with them. I agree. I can't stand what these governments have done. But I also believe that the powers that be always have and always will land on their feet. And that's what led me to Ripple and XRP. That's telling you just like it is. What I've learned since I got in this in 2013 is that none of this happened by accident. If you've spent any time whatsoever in this space, you will realize if you have done your research and you have read and you have watched videos and you have really looked into all of this, none of this was an accident. This was all a plan. And when I say that, I mean Bitcoin, I mean XRP, I mean Ripple, all of it. So let me show you my thought pattern. The first thing I wanted to show you here, Bitcoin is a hedge against the world falling apart. Okay, now I've said before that I believe that XRP was created partially to prevent World War III. I've made that statement before. I do believe that. Now, I believe, and this is kind of what I think. I don't know who, don't know how, don't know exactly, don't have the evidence to even prove this. I'm just telling you my theory. I believe that Bitcoin was some sort of a trial balloon. I believe Bitcoin was put out. It's not a coincidence, and I'll show you in a second. I want you to look at how Bitcoin has reacted to the Iran conflict. It has gone up 20.7% on the worry that the world's about to fall apart. Okay, now, and I don't believe that it's a coincidence that. Now the backdrop to this is, remember the financial crisis. You've watched, and I said it in a video yesterday, you have watched the powerful people tout Bitcoin, even the ones that have invested in Ripple and have invested in Ripple and hence XRP. They've touted Bitcoin. The Wall Street, don't think for a minute that Wall Street and the powerful people that are running the world's monetary system, don't think for a minute that they don't know that they've been pumping up the stock markets of the world for the last 10 years and that at some point it's going to collapse. These are not stupid people, okay? So imagine that. So Bitcoin is hatched during the financial crisis, and the creator is anonymous, okay? So, and it's designed now as a safe haven asset. It's been positioned that way. It's been marketed that way by a lot of powerful people. So let's look. This is the Bitcoin Wikipedia. And I've shown you this before, but I'll show you again here. On January the 3rd, on the 3rd of January 2019, Bitcoin network was created by Nakamoto, Satoshi Nakamoto. Mined the first blockchain known as the Genesis block. Embedded in this block was the text, "The Times," and it's like from a newspaper. "The Times, 3rd of January 2009. Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout for banks." Now, and I'm not saying that it was. I'm saying that that's a part of my theory. If I was governments of the world and I was Satoshi Nakamoto, well, if I were governments of the world and I was doing something that I was, and I feared a major backlash from the populace, you know what I would do if I was going to create a Bitcoin myself? First of all, I would make it anonymous, and then I would probably put a message like this in there to mislead the public into thinking, hey, this is some revolutionary thing. And do you know what I would do then? And this is purely just me talking. What I would do then is I would let those revolutionaries have their cake, and they could go and they could eat on Bitcoin for the next few years. And I would even go out and tout Bitcoin if I was one of these governments. I would go out and then in the midst of that, I would bail myself out. I would do all of this. And then, you know what I would do? And I'm not saying this is what was done. I'm just saying that none of this is an accident. None of this just happened. None of this that we've witnessed for the last few years is just some coincidence. And then what I would do is I would find myself a group of geniuses, and I would get those geniuses to create something that was going to be more in line with something where me and my buddies who just bailed themselves out could get behind and make not a little bit of money, but make a ton of money on. Now, I'm not saying that's what was done. I'm just saying that this is what I would have done. Have you ever looked at Ripple's timeline? This is Ripple.com. This is on the Ripple timeline, founded in 2012. Now, XRP was not founded in 2012. Ripple was founded in 2012. XRP was in the works with David Schwartz, Arthur Brito, Jed McCaleb, and Ryan Fugger is the guy who was had conceptualized this payment system in 2004. So this was around for a long time. And then if you look, but you can look down through here and you can see the progression of this from 2012. This is only 7 years, folks. This has all happened in 7 years, okay? I know companies in my town that have been active for over 100 years that don't have the connections that Ripple has in 7 years. Well, let's look at that. Now, I showed you this the other day, Ripple and central banks, and I've talked on this channel from day one. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever that Ripple has gotten they've said this was an actual quote. We actually work pretty closely with 40 to 50 central banks across the world, including the Bank of Thailand. You can go through and see just about every bank you can even imagine, but you don't have to take that word for it just in a blog, okay? Look at this. This is a tweet from back May 20th, 2019. Look, the important people that were in non-conference 14th May organized by Swiss Bank, SNB, and IMF, BIS, Bank of International Settlement, talking about the past, present, future of international monetary system. Brad Garlinghouse was the only one in the panel from private sector, and he shows you this picture right here. Now, the reason I'm showing you this particular thing is that this is when this all finally hit me. When I saw this back, I think it was in May, I don't remember the exact date. This is when it finally hit me. You know what? Not only was I right since 2013, but this is so much bigger than I ever thought. And I believe since that time that this is something that was put together by much more powerful people than just the guys that you see at Ripple. I've believed this for quite some time. Now, and you can look, they've got some of these people labeled, but someone else went and took the time to label almost everybody in the room. But first, let's look at these. Director of Monetary Markets, IMF, is sitting in the room. Chairman, Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, chief exec of the Hong Kong Bank Monetary Authority, and then little old Brad Garlinghouse sitting there by himself. Now let's go and look at this. This is from Bitcoin Jeddah, Swiss National Bank conference that Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse attended. Remember, XRP has been among the top 3 cryptocurrencies since 2013. Now, so this person took this and labeled all of these people. So I blew up the label. Now let's look. Here we go. First, we start with what you just saw, and let's go down and see who else that's in this group. Okay, so you had Christine Lagarde, who headed the IMF and now heads the ECB. Then you had this guy, Augustin Karsten, general manager of BIS. Then you've got this guy, chairman of the governing board of the Swiss National Bank. And then you have the financial counselor and director of the IMF. You have this guy, vice chairman of the governing board, Swiss National Bank, JP Morgan Chase International chairman. You've got governor of the Bank of Israel. You've got governor of the Austrian Central Bank. And then you've got a couple of professors here. Let's see, professor. That always adds some legitimacy. You got the governor of the South African Reserve Bank. You got the president of the Central Bank of Peru. You've got the governor of the Central Bank of Thailand, chief executive of Hong Kong Monetary Authority, governor of the Central Bank of Norway, governor of the Bank of Russia. You've got the governor of the Central Bank of Greece, chief executive of Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And that's just some of the people in the room, folks. Does my 7-year-old need to draw you another picture? And now, I just wanted to finish that thought pattern with this from the Rhythm Trader. If you've never watched it, folks, he says everyone should watch The Big Short at least once. And this, my friends, is so true. Go and watch The Big Short. And I want you to think about this for a minute. And I could go further into this, but I'm not going to. I could go a lot further into this, but I'm not going to. I could go a lot further into what I think and some things that I know that I'm not going to. But right here, The Big Short really is a summary of how ludicrous the financial crisis was and just how crazy all of it was. And remember, this movie is about a couple of smart guys that were really nobodies who shorted that market, who knew that the real estate market was going to collapse, and so they shorted it. But remember, don't forget, what is the most powerful firm in the world? The most powerful investment firm in the world is Goldman Sachs. Well, guess who? Goldman Sachs is one of the people in this movie. One of the guys goes and sees because he wants them to create a product where he can short that market. Well, remember, Goldman Sachs also shorted that market. And I say that to illustrate the point. These people on Wall Street are not stupid. These central bankers are not stupid. Bitcoin didn't just come out of nowhere. Ripple, XRP, in my opinion, did not just come out of nowhere. They have not been able to work their way through the financial system, and it didn't just come out of nowhere. We're a part of something that is one time, maybe in the history of the world, that it will happen and happen this way. And I go back to what I've said several times on this channel. Bob Way, who was one of the first 10 employees at Ripple, one of the things he said, and I've repeated this, and this is always stuck in my mind. He said, we were always worried that at some point we might see the day where the feds kicked our door in. And I always wondered, why would he say such a thing? Okay. And maybe he was just some rogue employee whose NDAs had expired. But I always thought, here's a guy, Bob Way, who was working there and thought, why haven't they kicked our doors in yet? And that's the question I've always asked myself since 2013 is, why were those doors never kicked in? The reason those doors were never kicked in is because this is much bigger than everyone realized. realizes. So I encourage you all to go watch The Big Short because it will really illustrate for you none of this, all the way from the financial crisis until now, none of this just happened. It did not just happen. There's not one part of me that believes anything otherwise. This did not just happen, and it does not continue to happen for no reason. There is a reason, and I think it's going to be one of the most profitable reasons in the history of finance. Just my opinion, by the way. Okay, XRP Crypto Wolf. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo wants to give the Department of Financial Services more powers in regulating crypto startups. Changes include a modification to listing cryptocurrencies and framework for coin listings that cryptocurrency exchanges can use. Then, from the XRP Crypto Wolf, New York lawmakers are pushing for their own cryptocurrency. It would run on a peer-to-peer payments platform called an inclusive value ledger. New Yorkers could use it to pay goods and services, but also transfer money directly to each other with no fees. And then XRP Crypto Wolf is the man with the plan, folks. And then the ECB president, Lagarde, said they're eager to expand and develop central bank digital currencies, CBDC, but that doesn't mean private enterprisers can't join the party. ECB doesn't want to stand in the way of crypto assets created outside its sphere. And then, I mean, golly, this guy's working today. XRP Crypto Wolf, R3's CEO David Rudder was interviewed on CNBC. Said the entire Italian banking system will be on R3 Corda for interbank payments this year. Rudder also said hundreds of millions of transactions will be transacted on R3 Corda this year. And then there was this from Chinu Patel at Chinu Patel 29. Also in that interview, he says Libra woke a lot of people up. I believe that's true. All right, and then this, Leonidas had let us all know this. I'm not going to try to say the name of this Turk bank because I'll mispronounce it. But they integrated XCurrent. This is the second Turkish bank to have a working relationship with Ripple. Compliments, and this is from Michael at VAL5 links, compliments of XRP Arcade. Now that's xrparcade.com. That's Leonidas's website, a great resource. He says that bank seems to have integrated XCurrent. He's been working on the XCurrent integration since the beginning of 2019 as a part of his work at the bank. All right, and then there was this from Ticket Attorney at Fix Tickets Vegas. I had to show you this. We needed to check back in with John McAfee. The truth of our evening. Few will believe it. It matters not to us. And then he says it happened. What I wanted to show, this is basically him drunk coming home from a restaurant. What made me laugh so much about this is this guy right here, because this guy has the look on his face that I would have the look on this is the look that I would have on my face after I got, well, while this video was being filmed, because he has the look on his face the look on his face says to me, man, this is so awesome. I can't wait till my friends see this because he knows what a train wreck this is. Oh my goodness. All right. And then finally from Sergeant Obi-Wan at Sergeant Obi-Wan, got this from, I don't know if I follow this person. No, I do. Luminous Design. I can be right or wrong, but this is how I imagine the whole project since day one, which I think all it came from some lab source. I don't know what he means by that, but he's drawn this illustration that's showing the hatch of Ripple, 2008, 2012. Now, this kind of goes to what I was saying at the beginning of this video. 2008, I believe I would pay money to be a fly on the wall in the governments of the world, specifically the United States government. I don't know where. I don't know if it would be the NSA, the CIA, or what. I have no idea. But in 2008 to 2012, while Bitcoin was coming about, I would pay money to be a fly on the wall during this time right here. And then the official release, XRP 2013 by Ripple, 2014. They're just building. 2004, let's see, right here in 2017, explosion. We are almost ready. And it's kind of like they were quietly building, and then all of a sudden you had the market explosion, almost like some word got out, and then everybody's like, okay, now the world knows this is for real. And I feel like we've been here. I mean, this makes so much sense. Butterfly, pump blood into the wings and wait until they are dry, then it will take off. Pump blood, ODL, dry wings, liquidity crisis. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. Let me say, to finish this video, Bitcoin, Ripple, and XRP did not just happen. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that Bitcoin, Ripple, and XRP did not just happen. Thank you for listening.